Hey everybody, Asian Fahzaly Gamer here. I just want to take a second, put out a small disclaimer to let you all know that I am not a mental health professional. I just want to do my best to be able to help others with my own experience, and at the very least, hope to be able to point people in the right direction if they do need help. And of course, I also want to remind people that we do go into very heavy and potentially triggering subjects. So that is something to be considered. But I do appreciate your support for you being here. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy this episode of Fahzaly Advice. Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Fahzaly Advice. I truly do appreciate all of you, and I do hope that you have been enjoying and have found value in what I've said. Now, as you've noticed, I have been trying to work on my thumbnail game to make sure that these particular podcast videos, specifically here on YouTube, are seen by the algorithm, because I'm trying my best to get this particular YouTube channel monetized, as I am a full-time content creator and this is a big goal of mine. So all of you that have watched, that have supported, that have commented and liked on these videos, thank you. Thank you so much for your help, for your support, and for everything that you do. From the bottom of my heart, it really does mean the world to me. Now, let's get on into our first submission, which I'm kind of excited to talk about because this is a subject that doesn't necessarily come into this particular podcast, but is something that I talk about regularly on stream. So, to the submitter, thank you for your submission. I truly do appreciate this. I really do. Now, this one is brought to us by Soulsfan, and they write, "Hey there, Fahza. I hope that you are doing good. Thanks for taking the time to help me out with this, if you do read this submission. So, me and a friend of mine recently had a disagreement that kinda got a little heated. We were talking about how much Souls-like games have changed over the years since the first Demon Souls game. And we started talking about which Souls-like is the best and why they are the best. He told me that the best Souls-like game is and will always be Sekiro because of how complex the combat is. I disagreed and said that Elden Ring is the top game because of how the story is told and having a wide range of not only bosses, but weapons to choose from. He then started arguing that that is exactly what is wrong with Souls-like games these days. Too focused on story, and because of that, they end up using redundant mechanics, and it's just not as fun. I further disagreed, saying that the story is exactly what makes the world feel alive, and that without it, we end up with games like Mortal Shell. This kinda devolved into a shouting match before we decided to part ways and cool off. I was wondering, and would like to hear your opinion on this, as both of us do watch your streams. Sincerely, Soulsfan." Now, I am particularly excited to answer this one because, one, my name as a content creator is Asian Fahzaly Gamer, so gaming is something that I really do enjoy talking about. And this particular facet actually goes into specifically something that I talk about a lot in my streams, which is gaming for you. The ultimate truth when it comes to what is the best game is that is subjective. And subjective in itself leads into a territory that doesn't necessarily have a singular truth, because it's whatever you enjoy. The number one thing to remember about conversations when it comes to talking about what's the best, what's most enjoyable and things like that, there's gonna be a disagreements and there's gonna be agreements, but ultimately it has to be with the understanding that neither of you are superior for your opinion. that your opinion is subjective, and it is subjective to you personally in what you enjoy and how you view these games and what you find important in these games. Does that make one person any more valid than the other? No, it really doesn't. Because in the realm of subjective opinions, as I stated, the truth is formed by you and how you feel. But that doesn't devalue or invalidate someone else's truth, someone else's opinion. What you enjoy about Souls-like and what your friend enjoys about Souls-like games is both valid. And neither of what you find enjoyable nor what they find enjoyable takes away from either one. They may not like the aspects of Souls games that you enjoy, and you may not like aspects of Souls games that they enjoy. Does that make Souls games any better or worse? No. Does that stop you from enjoying what you enjoy? No. People's opinions are just that, an opinion. And it's like my grandpa always used to say, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. It's your choice to stick your face into it and get pink eye. So don't get up all in a tizzy just because someone doesn't agree with your opinion. They don't need to. Nobody needs to agree in this world. No. Agreement and understanding don't go hand in hand. You can disagree and still understand. It's when you use a disagreement as a standpoint to find out who is superior over another, and when it comes to superiority, especially over a subject of something that is subjective, that is, in all definitions, absolutely asinine. Because let's bring it down to brass tacks. In all honesty, you're arguing about whose opinion is superior over a video game that is meant for entertainment and enjoyment. How small does that sound? I mean, really, my friend. Truly, when it comes down to it, ultimately, it's like I've stated beforehand several times in many different instances. Gaming is about you. It's about what you enjoy and the joy that you are able to derive from having fun. No one else's opinion matters in that regard. Just because someone says, oh, this is better than that, okay, they can have more enjoyment in that way. You're still going to enjoy it in your way. Their opinion has no weight in your regard, in what you have fun with. So the best Souls game, or what makes a Souls game the best, is whatever you think it is. And that's valid. And that's great. Hold on to that and don't let anybody else change that just because they said something. Unless, of course, you resonate with what they say. But that's a choice you need to make. But you don't need to fight over one opinion over another being better than the other. Subjectivity does not initiate superiority. In fact, when it comes down to it, the fight for superiority is nothing more than a primitive, primal, unnecessary conflict. Because superiority doesn't determine anything in this world other than you feel better than someone else. Great. What does that do? Not much. But when it comes to this, you can't let this turn into an argument that breaks relationships, because opinions are just opinions. They don't hurt anybody. The only time it does is when that opinion is coming from a visceral standpoint or from somewhere that is absolutely toxic. But stating that one is better than the other just because you enjoy it in that way and your friend enjoys it in another way, both of y'all can enjoy it in your own way without taking away from another. It doesn't need to be that way. Joy isn't on a level or quantified in superiority or in inferiority or in any regard in that sense. It's just joy. It's having fun. It's adding light to the life and mirth that you have. Enjoy it. Have conversations, but don't let those conversations become a standpoint of hate. Ain't no need for that, especially when it comes to gaming. Or really enjoying life. If it doesn't harm anybody, it don't matter. It don't hurt nobody, right? So enjoy it the way you enjoy it. Love what you love about Souls games. Because there's a lot of misconceptions about that, you know? When we think about it, there's also the definition of what is a Souls game. A Souls game essentially is a game that is based around a challenge mechanic as well as a multitude of other things. But Souls games, Souls-likes, all stem from the basis of Demon Souls, which was the first Souls game. And then from there came Dark Souls. And from that genre and from those games, from that franchise, grew something so much more that many other game studios realized that they could create a story with, or mechanics with. And yes, Souls games have evolved over the years. And even from their origins, from what inspired those games. Games like Monster Hunter, and what even inspired those style games, going even further back to the Super Nintendo or arcade version of games like Battletoads and Ninja Turtles, in which dodge mechanics originated from. But even all of those factors matter not to what you enjoy. Me, I'm somebody who enjoys learning the history, the lore, and so much more about the game. And me personally, I enjoy Elden Ring. Out of all of the Souls games that I have experienced, which I am actually somebody who really does enjoy Souls games, even though I don't necessarily have a day dedicated to it. I do dedicate my night streams to that. But somebody who does enjoy Souls games, to me personally, my favorite aspect of Souls games is the story. It's its storytelling and the open-endedness of that storytelling, allowing for us, the player, to have some speculative nature towards its lore and how it grows and how it builds to us as a player. I love that. Some people might not like that. Your friend obviously enjoys the more complicated side or the mechanical side of Souls game. The learning of the timing of dodging as well as parrying and being able to pull off the cinematic type of combat style that many people enjoy from Souls games. And there's nothing wrong with that either. But please remember, video games, what we enjoy, the things that we do to de-stress and just have fun, should just be about that. About having fun. Not about feeling more than someone else just because you have more fun with it in this way than someone else does? I mean, that's a little bit silly when you really think about it, isn't it? No. We focus too much on the things that we hate or that we dislike, that we blind ourselves and waste time not focusing on the things that we love. Remember that. Remember why you're friends too. Because arguments may happen between friends. Disagreements will occur. But you can't let those disagreements become the end. Especially over something as silly as what's the best Souls-like. But I do appreciate you, Souls fan. I do, for this submission and for the chance to talk about something, a subject that's near and dear to my heart and close to me as a content creator as well. But of course, that's also one of the reasons I do love doing this, because I'm able to, at the very least, branch out to a myriad of different subjects, because we talk about everything when it comes to friendships, mental health, even aspects of things that we enjoy in life. So thank you, my friend. Now, before we move on to the next submission, let's take a second to have a word from our sponsor, me. Well, hey everybody. Did you know that Agent Fahzaly Gamer has a Patreon?
That's right, and Random Skull is here to help tell you about it.
And that's right, we're doing this announcement together.
And when you subscribe to Patreon, you get to see content early, and of course, make requests for content on YouTube, and even on Twitch and TikTok. It's all up to you.
And of course, if you want to support Agent Fahzaly Gamer, check out these links. And of course, there are also links in the link tree.
And remember, when you subscribe to Patreon, you can also leave a message saying that Random Skull is better than Mr. Announcer.
Now, was that even really necessary? Hey there, everybody. Mr. Announcer here. I want to take a moment of your time to let you know that there are ways that you can support Agent Fahzaly Gamer with direct donations through Cash App and PayPal. And you can make requests with these donations. They will be treated as priority requests for short-form content on YouTube and on TikTok. We thank you for your support, and we hope you have a wonderful day. Welcome back, my friends. Now, let's get on into that second submission, shall we? And this one is brought to us by Frustrated Wife. And they write, Dear Fahzaly, so recently, my life has changed a whole bunch. My husband's mother just moved in with her husband. They recently lost their house in a foreclosure due to reasons I really don't want to go into. It mostly has to do with how fucked up corporate America is and its inability to see people. Either way, my husband was kind enough to extend to them the secondary house on our property, which we were setting up to be subsidized and sold as its own property. They made themselves right at home, and, well, it's no secret, but his mother is not a fan of me. Recently, my home seems to have become her battleground against me, saying everything possible to criticize and make me seem incompetent. Now, let me be clear. My husband has openly defended and stated she needs to stop, and it's not appreciated. But this has caused a huge rift and stress for my husband, and I am starting to feel frustrated. I have attempted my best to stay out of her way and not say anything, but I'm sort of at my wit's end. Am I out of place for wanting to say anything? Would it be wrong for me to say something? I don't know, Fahzaly. I could use some of your advice here. Signed, Frustrated Wife. Well, Frustrated Wife, thank you for submitting this and trusting me with your issue. Now, there are gonna be people who are gonna disagree with what I have to say here. But the thing is, and I've stated this before, but I was raised in a household that tried to remove subtext from how we talked to each other, because it seemed unnecessary to worry about how we were saying something rather than what we were saying. And that kind of evolved into a general bluntness that we all didn't see as rude, we just saw as telling the truth. And in that regard, there are times that I can be a little bit blunt, upfront, argumentative, some might say, with what I say and how I say things. But ultimately, I see no need or reason to hold back, especially when somebody is being rude. Even more so in your own damn home. You have no need to hold back. Your husband has been defending you, which is absolutely amazing. And it is great to hear that you have somebody by your side that not only supports you, as a partner, but is willing to stand up with you. Now, I understand why you've been doing your best to stay out of it and not say anything, because you don't want to rattle the cage. You don't want to rock the boat because it's unnecessary and undue stress. I'm guessing at the very least, that's where your mindset is. The thing is, there's no need to not say anything. Y'all extended in your own heart and kindness a place for them to be. That needs to be respected. Not only that, the audacity to come into your home and criticize you in your own home is utterly disrespectful. And for you to have the patience to hold back, you must have the patience of a saint. Because I wouldn't be able to. The first moment that she would probably have said something would be the instance where I would have said, well, that's rude. And you can get out now. Because you don't need to take that. You don't. You are in no way, shape, or form out of place for wanting to or for saying something if you do. I personally am one on the standpoint to say that you should say something, that you should tell them to stop, that you should stand up for yourself, and that you shouldn't be bullied by somebody just because they think that they have the right to do so. Where does she get off thinking that she can bully you and tell you this and that in your own home when you were kind enough to extend to them a roof over their head? And it seems like you did nothing to instigate this other than the fact that you are married to her son. I apologize if I seem a little bit heated, because this is honestly something that I have seen being dealt with personal friends. And it's a frustrating thing to see people deal with when it comes to someone who should be caring about them. You know, like family, like somebody's mother. Doesn't make much sense to me to cause that kind of issue when it doesn't need to be an issue, when that person hasn't done anything wrong. Just saying. Now, when it comes to what you say, that's something that you're going to have to formulate. How you want to present it. But once again, my advice, and I stress this, but take this with a grain of salt, because once, as I stated, and has been stated in the beginning of the podcast, I am not a mental health professional. I am just doing my best to give advice to others through the experiences that I've had. But saying something is necessary. Holding back is unnecessary. Who are you holding back for, other than yourself? Your husband doesn't seem to care. Your husband is willing to say something in the moments. So why not you? It's not like you're making the situation any worse. You're just speaking up for yourself and standing up for yourself. And there is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with saying, I will not be bullied anymore. I will not be disrespected anymore. I will not take it. And if you don't like it, you don't have to be here. It doesn't need to be presented as a threat. It just needs to be presented as a statement of how you feel. Because no one, and I mean nobody, deserves to feel like they're being openly insulted in their own home. That is uncalled for and unnecessary, especially when it's unwarranted. So don't ever think that you don't have the right to defend yourself. You don't, or the right to say something when somebody is disrespecting you. I have a personal philosophy. Match energy. Match energy, because it's not about an eye for an eye. It's about giving back what someone has given you, so you don't have to hold on to it anymore. And you can move on while they can stick with their own bad energy. If they want to give it out, they can take it right back, and they can keep it. That's the way I see it. It's why I have the saying on my live streams of always disrespect your trolls, because you should always have the confidence to be able to be yourself without worrying about what anybody else has to say, whether or not they're going to criticize or judge you, because who cares? Their judgments and their criticisms don't mean anything, because it's not going to stop you from being alive. It's not going to stop you from being you. So don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. Don't be afraid to give back what they've given you, because you don't want to hold on to it. You got too much to do and no time to waste on that nonsense, right? I understand your frustration. I do. But honestly, I've seen nothing good come from holding back other than enabling the other to continue to do or continue to act in the way that they've acted, because there are no consequences, because nobody is willing to stand up to them, or at the very least the person that they're targeting isn't standing up to them. Sometimes it might take just that for them to realize it's time to shut up. And there's nothing wrong with telling them that either. And this might seem a little bit confrontational. It might seem like it's being a little bit pushy. But when you're pushed to your wit's end, what else should you do other than push back? Holding back for someone else doesn't do anything other than enable. The restraints and discipline that we give to ourselves is something that we should hold on to, so that we don't become what we don't want to be. But we shouldn't mask it as a way to enable others to be horrible to us. Nothing wrong with speaking up. And I do hope that all of y'all, that you, frustrated wife, have found some value in what I've said, and that this does lead to alleviating some of that stress that you have felt. And to our first submitter as well, to all of our submitters, to all of our viewers, thank you so much. I really do appreciate y'all, and I hope that you have found value in what I said. And if you enjoyed the podcast, please remember to like, to comment, to share, and subscribe for more. And now, my friends, it's time for this love train to get rolling on through. Choo choo. I love every single freaking one of you. Well, everybody, that's the end of Fahzaly Advice. I hope you did enjoy this episode and you found some value in what I said. And of course, if you are interested in participating, if you need some advice or some perspective, feel free to email the address at the end of this part. And remember, all submissions are 100% anonymous. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
Need some perspective? Need some advice? Want your submission read on podcast? Well, email Fahza at fahzalyadvice@gmail.com. And remember, all submissions are 100% anonymous unless requested upon.